Have you ever looked back on your life and thought, if only someone had told me this years ago? Most older adults have, not because they regret everything they've done, but because time has a remarkable way of changing what truly matters. When we're young, we often believe we have endless tomorrows. We chase promotions, worry about what others think, put off vacations, delay phone calls to family, and promise ourselves we'll slow down someday. Then one day, someday, quietly becomes today. The surprising thing is that the greatest lessons in life rarely come from books or classrooms. They come from ordinary mornings, difficult goodbyes, unexpected challenges, and years of living. These lessons aren't meant to fill us with regret. They're meant to help us appreciate the present. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or even younger, these timeless truths can still change the way you live tomorrow. Because, as long as we're breathing, we're still learning. Today's video isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about making the future brighter, starting today. You may recognize yourself in some of these stories. Perhaps you'll smile. Perhaps you'll remember someone you love. Or perhaps you'll realize there's still time to do something you've been putting off for years. Life doesn't ask us to be perfect. It simply asks us to keep growing. So, settle into your favorite chair, pour yourself a warm cup of coffee or tea, and let's explore the things countless older people say they wish they had understood much earlier in life. Some of these lessons may surprise you. Others may remind you of wisdom you already carry in your heart. Either way, they have one thing in common. They can help us live with more peace, more gratitude, and fewer regrets. Let's begin with perhaps the most important lesson of all. Health is something we often appreciate only after we begin to lose it. When we're young, it's easy to believe our bodies will always take care of us. We wake up, go to work, carry heavy bags, climb stairs, stay up late, and somehow bounce back the next morning without giving it much thought. Good health feels normal, almost invisible. It's like the air we breathe. We rarely notice it until it's missing. Many older adults say that if they could travel back in time, they wouldn't tell their younger selves to work harder or earn more money. They would simply say, take better care of your body. Not because they wanted to look younger, but because they wanted to stay independent longer. The ability to walk through a park without pain, to play with grandchildren, to carry groceries without struggling, to garden on a sunny afternoon. These everyday moments become priceless with age. The truth is, our health is built one ordinary day at a time. It's shaped by the small choices we repeat. Choosing to go for a walk instead of staying on the couch. Choosing water a little more often than sugary drinks. Choosing to get enough sleep instead of saying, I'll rest later. None of these choices seem dramatic in the moment. But over years and decades, they add up. Imagine two neighbors. One spends 20 minutes walking every morning. The other always says, I'll start next month. At first, there's almost no difference between them. 5 years later, the gap is noticeable. 10 years later, it's even wider. The small habits became a very big story. This doesn't mean we should blame ourselves for every ache or illness. Life happens. Genetics matter. Accidents happen. Some illnesses come without warning, and many challenges are completely beyond our control. But even then, caring for ourselves is never wasted. Because health isn't just about adding years to life. It's about adding life to our years. That might mean stretching a little every morning, preparing a nourishing meal, keeping medical appointments, taking medications as prescribed, or simply choosing to move your body in ways that bring you joy. Even gentle movement can make a remarkable difference. A slow walk around the neighborhood, dancing to your favorite song from decades ago, working in the garden, playing with a beloved pet. Every bit of movement is a quiet investment in tomorrow. Perhaps the greatest lesson is this: don't wait for a health scare to appreciate the body that carries you through life. Every single day, treat it with kindness. Speak to it with gratitude. Rest when it asks for rest. Move when it asks to move. Because this remarkable body has been your lifelong companion. It has carried you through celebrations, heartbreaks, adventures, and ordinary Tuesdays. It deserves your care, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. And here's the encouraging part. No matter your age, it's never too late to make one healthier choice today than you made yesterday. One walk, one glass of water, one healthy meal, one good night's sleep. Small steps, repeated consistently, can still create meaningful change. Because every new day is another opportunity to care for the only home you'll ever truly live in, your own body. If you ask a room full of older adults what they wish they had more of, very few will answer, "I wish I had bought a bigger house." Very few will say, "I wish I had worked more weekends." Instead, you'll hear something much more meaningful. "I wish I had spent more time with my family. I wish I had traveled when I had the chance. I wish I had slowed down." Time has a way of changing our priorities. When we're young, money often feels like the most valuable resource. We work extra hours, take on more responsibilities, and tell ourselves that once we achieve a certain goal, we'll finally have time to enjoy life. But life rarely works that way. There is always another project, another bill to pay, another promotion to chase, another reason to postpone the things that truly matter. Then, almost without warning, the years pass. Children grow up. Parents grow older. Friends move away. Some loved ones leave this world. And we begin to realize that while money can buy many things, it cannot buy one more afternoon with someone we've lost. It cannot buy yesterday. It cannot buy another birthday with a parent. It cannot buy back the moments we were too busy to notice. Imagine an elderly grandfather sitting on a porch. His career was successful. He earned a good living. He provided for his family. Yet when he thinks about the happiest days of his life, he doesn't remember the long meetings or the late nights at the office. He remembers teaching his daughter how to ride a bicycle. He remembers family picnics by the lake. He remembers laughing so hard around the dinner table that everyone forgot what they were eating. Those ordinary moments became extraordinary memories. That's one of life's beautiful surprises. The moments we often rush through become the ones we treasure most. A quiet breakfast with your spouse, a phone call with an old friend, watching the sunset without checking the clock, reading a bedtime story to a grandchild. These moments don't ask for perfection. They simply ask for your presence. One of the greatest gifts you can give another person isn't money. It's your undivided attention. When you truly listen, when you make eye contact, when you put away distractions, you're telling someone, right now, you matter. And that's a gift people remember for years. As we grow older, we also begin to understand that life isn't measured only by how long we live. It's measured by how deeply we live. A single afternoon spent laughing with people you love can be more valuable than an entire week spent worrying about things you can't control. So don't wait for the perfect time. There will always be chores to finish, emails to answer, laundry to fold. The work never completely disappears, but opportunities don't always come back. Call the friend you've been thinking about. Visit your brother or sister. Take that walk you've been postponing. Sit outside and enjoy the fresh air. Watch the birds. Listen to the rain. Hold someone's hand. Tell your loved ones that you appreciate them. Not someday, but today. Because one day, today's ordinary moments will become tomorrow's precious memories. The clock keeps moving, whether we notice it or not. The question isn't how much time we have. The question is how we choose to spend the time we are given. And perhaps that's why so many older people eventually realize this simple truth. The richest life isn't the one with the most possessions. It's the one filled with meaningful moments. And that brings us to another lesson many people wish they had understood much earlier. The people who truly stand by you are life's greatest treasure. As the years pass, something remarkable begins to happen. The circle of people around us often becomes smaller, not because we stop caring about others, but because life naturally changes. Children grow up and build families of their own. Neighbors move away. Co-workers retire. Old friends relocate to different cities or countries. And some of the people we love become cherished memories. At first, these changes can feel surprising, but they also reveal an important truth. It's never about how many people know your name. It's about who answers the phone when you need someone. When we're younger, it's easy to collect acquaintances. We meet people at school, at work, through hobbies, or in our neighborhoods. Some relationships last for years. Others quietly fade away. There's nothing wrong with that. Life moves in seasons. But through every season, a handful of people remain. The friend who checks on you after surgery. The neighbor who brings over a warm meal when you're not feeling well. The daughter who calls every Sunday, no matter how busy she is. The lifelong friend who can make you laugh with a single sentence. These are the relationships that become priceless. Many older adults say they wish they had spent less time trying to impress people and more time appreciating the ones who truly cared. Because genuine friendship doesn't depend on success. It doesn't disappear when life becomes difficult. It stays. Imagine two old friends sitting on a park bench. They've known each other for over 50 years. Their hair has turned gray. Their steps have become slower. They don't need exciting stories to enjoy each other's company anymore. Sometimes they simply sit in comfortable silence, and somehow that silence says everything. There is something deeply comforting about being with people who know your history, people who remember your younger days, who stood beside you during celebrations, who comforted you through heartbreak, who never expected you to be perfect. These relationships don't happen overnight. They're built one conversation at a time. One visit, one shared meal, one act of kindness, one promise kept. Like a beautiful garden, friendships need care. A simple phone call, a handwritten card, an unexpected visit, a sincere, "How have you been?" These small gestures often mean more than expensive gifts. And here's something else many people discover later in life. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of trust. For many years, we may believe we have to handle everything on our own. But allowing someone to help us creates connection. It reminds both people that they are not alone. Sometimes the strongest words we can say are, "Could you help me?" Or, "Would you like to have coffee together?" Human beings were never meant to walk through life completely alone. We were created to share stories, to encourage one another, to celebrate together, and to carry each other's burdens when life becomes heavy. If you're fortunate enough to have even one person who truly cares about you, treasure them. Tell them. Don't assume they already know. Because appreciation, spoken out loud, has a wonderful way of strengthening relationships. And if you've lost dear friends or loved ones along the way, remember this. The love you shared with them doesn't disappear. It becomes part of who you are. Their kindness lives on in the way you treat others. Their wisdom echoes in the advice you give. Their laughter still warms your memories. In that sense, love never truly leaves us. It simply changes its form. Perhaps that's why one of life's greatest accomplishments isn't having the biggest house or the highest salary. It's reaching the later chapters of life surrounded by people who genuinely care whether you're smiling. Because, at the end of the day, relationships, not possessions, are what give life its deepest meaning. And that leads to another lesson that countless older people wish they had learned much sooner. Don't wait to tell the people you love exactly how much they mean to you. One of the quietest regrets many older people carry isn't about money. It isn't about careers. It isn't even about missed opportunities. It's about words that were never spoken. I thought they already knew. I kept putting it off. I assumed there would be another chance. Life teaches us something both beautiful and heartbreaking. Tomorrow is never guaranteed. Most of us believe we'll have one more holiday together, one more birthday, one more visit, one more phone call. But life doesn't always follow our plans. Sometimes, the last conversation happens without us realizing it's the last. That's why the simplest words can become the most powerful. I love you. I'm proud of you. Thank you. I forgive you. I'm glad you're in my life. Think about a grandmother writing a birthday card to her grandson. No matter where life takes you, never forget how deeply you are loved. Not because the paper is valuable, but because the words are. Love doesn't always need grand gestures. Don't let small disagreements become permanent distances. Ask yourself, very often, the answer is no. That may matter forever. Of course, forgiveness doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior or ignoring serious wrongdoing. Healthy boundaries are important. Sometimes, distance is necessary for peace and safety. But when a relationship is built on love and goodwill, don't let stubbornness steal precious time. Life is simply too short. One day, you'll wish you had one more conversation, one more laugh, one more family dinner, one more chance to say, "I'm grateful for you." The wonderful news is this. If the people you love are still here today, you still have an opportunity. You don't need a special occasion. You don't need the perfect speech. Just be sincere. Call your son. Visit your neighbor. Write the letter you've been meaning to write. Tell your best friend how much their friendship has meant over the years. Sometimes, those simple moments become the memories that comfort us for the rest of our lives. Because, in the end, love isn't measured by what we feel in our hearts alone. It's also measured by the kindness we choose to express while we still have the chance. And perhaps that's one of the greatest gifts we can give to others and to ourselves. Because words spoken with love are never wasted. They have a way of echoing through generations. And that brings us to another life lesson that has helped countless older adults find greater peace and contentment. There is an old saying, "The grass always seems greener on the other side." For much of our lives, many of us fall into the habit of comparing. We compare our careers, our homes, our vacations, our families, our accomplishments. And today, with television, magazines, and social media, it's easier than ever to believe that everyone else has figured life out. But here's something many older people eventually discover. Every person you meet is carrying a story you cannot fully see. The smiling couple at the restaurant may be quietly facing serious health challenges. The successful businessman may wish he had spent more time with his children. The neighbor with the beautiful garden may be grieving the loss of a lifelong partner. From a distance, every life can appear perfect. Up close, every life has its struggles. One retired teacher once shared a simple truth. She said, "I spent years wishing I had someone else's life. Then I learned they were wishing they had mine." That realization changed everything. Comparison has a quiet way of stealing joy from the present. Instead of appreciating what we have, we begin focusing on what we don't. Instead of celebrating our progress, we measure ourselves against someone else's path. But life was never meant to be a race. There is no prize for reaching milestones before everyone else. Some people find love at 25. Others meet the love of their life at 70. Some become grandparents early. Others travel the world after retirement. Some discover a new hobby in their 80s. Others write their first book later in life. Every journey unfolds in its own time. Imagine walking through a beautiful forest. An oak tree grows tall and strong. Nearby, a wildflower blooms for only a short season. A pine tree stays green all year. None of them compete with one another. Each grows according to its own nature. People are much the same. Your value does not depend on keeping up with someone else. It comes from living your own life with honesty, kindness, and purpose. As we grow older, we often realize that contentment isn't found in having more. It's found in appreciating enough. Enough laughter. Enough love. Enough meaningful moments. Enough reasons to be thankful today. Gratitude has a remarkable way of changing our perspective. Instead of saying, "I wish I had what they have," we begin saying, "I'm thankful for what I already have." Maybe it's a comfortable home, a loyal friend, a favorite chair by the window, a grandchild's laugh, a faithful pet waiting at the door, a sunrise that paints the sky with beautiful colors. These simple blessings often become life's greatest treasures. Of course, it's perfectly natural to admire others or learn from their experiences. Their success can inspire us. Their courage can motivate us. But inspiration is very different from comparison. Inspiration says, "I'll never be enough." One builds hope. The other steals peace. Choose hope. Remember this. Your life has never needed to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. The challenges you've overcome, the kindness you've shared, the wisdom you've gained, the people you've loved, these things cannot be measured against another person's story. They are uniquely yours, and that is something to celebrate. As the years pass, many older adults discover that the happiest people are rarely those who had the easiest lives. They are the ones who learned to appreciate the life they had, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And perhaps that's one of the greatest freedoms that comes with age. Letting go of the need to compete and embracing the joy of simply being yourself. Because the most fulfilling life isn't built by comparing chapters. It's built by living your own story, one grateful day at a time. One of the greatest myths about aging is that slowing down means stopping altogether. Yes, our bodies naturally change with time. Our joints may become stiffer. Our muscles may not be as strong as they once were. We may need a little more rest than we did decades ago. But growing older doesn't mean giving up on movement. In fact, many older adults discover that gentle, consistent movement becomes even more important with age. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to lift heavy weights. You don't have to compete with anyone. You simply need to keep moving. Movement is one of the kindest gifts you can give your body. Think about a favorite old rocking chair. If it sits untouched in the corner for years, it begins to creak. The wood becomes stiff. The joints weaken. But when it's used regularly and cared for, it continues to serve faithfully. Our bodies are much the same. They were designed for movement. A short walk after breakfast. Stretching your arms toward the ceiling each morning. Working in the garden. Playing with your grandchildren. Taking the stairs when you can. These moments may seem small, but they keep the body engaged and the spirit alive. Many seniors say they don't exercise because they think it's too late to make a difference. But that's simply not true. Every step counts. Every stretch matters. Every moment of movement sends your body a powerful message. We're still living. We're still growing. We're still capable. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency. Imagine placing one coin into a jar every single day. At first, it hardly seems worth the effort, but after a year, the jar is surprisingly full. A little balance practice before dinner. Being able to prepare your own meals. Visit a friend. Carry your groceries. Climb a few stairs. These everyday abilities often bring a sense of freedom that money cannot buy. Movement also does something wonderful for the mind. Have you ever noticed how a short walk can brighten your mood? How fresh air seems to clear your thoughts? How simply sitting outside, feeling the sunshine on your face, can make worries seem a little lighter? Our bodies and our minds are deeply connected. When we care for one, we often help the other. Of course, everyone is different. Some people live with arthritis. Others are recovering from surgery. Some use walkers or canes. Others have limited mobility. That's perfectly okay. Movement doesn't have to look the same for everyone. For one person, it's a walk through the park. For another, it may be gentle chair exercises. For someone else, it may simply be standing up, stretching, and taking a few careful steps around the room. The important thing isn't how fast you move. It's that you continue moving in ways that are safe and appropriate for you. Never underestimate what small, steady efforts can accomplish. A healthier heart, better balance, greater flexibility, improved sleep, more energy for the people and activities you love. Perhaps the greatest reward isn't physical at all. It's the confidence that comes from realizing, I can still do this. That quiet confidence carries into every part of life. It reminds us that aging is not about becoming less. It's about adapting wisely, caring for ourselves, and continuing to enjoy the life we've been given. So the next time you're tempted to stay seated all day, remember this: your future self will thank you for every gentle step you take today, not because those steps are dramatic, but because they are faithful. And faithful habits have a remarkable way of creating extraordinary results over time. As important as caring for our bodies is, there's another lesson that may be even more important for our hearts. If there is one lesson that many older people wish they had learned sooner, it is this: holding on to anger is exhausting. At first, it can feel justified. Someone hurt us, broke our trust, spoke words that left lasting scars. And those wounds are real. Forgiveness does not pretend they never happened. It doesn't erase the pain or rewrite history. But over time, many people discover something unexpected. The person carrying the greatest burden is often the one holding on to the resentment. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day. At first, you think you'll get used to the weight, but year after year, it becomes harder to walk, harder to enjoy the journey, harder to appreciate the beauty around you. Bitterness can feel very much the same. It quietly steals our peace. It occupies our thoughts. It follows us into new relationships. And sometimes, the person who hurt us has already moved on with their life, while we continue carrying the burden. One elderly gentleman once shared a lesson he learned after decades of resentment. He said, "I thought I was punishing the person who hurt me. Instead, I was punishing myself." That realization changed his life. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It does not mean saying that what happened was acceptable. It does not mean forgetting. And it certainly does not mean allowing someone to continue hurting you. Healthy boundaries are wise. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to love someone from a distance. Sometimes reconciliation isn't possible. And that's okay. Forgiveness is not always about restoring a relationship. Sometimes it's about restoring your own peace. It's saying, "I refuse to let yesterday control the joy I can experience today." That kind of freedom is priceless. Think about two neighbors who planted identical gardens. One spent every day pulling weeds, watering the flowers, and caring for the soil. The other became so focused on the weeds that he stopped noticing the flowers altogether. Eventually, the weeds took over. Our hearts are similar. If we spend all our energy feeding resentment, gratitude has little room to grow. But when we choose compassion, patience, and forgiveness, something beautiful begins to bloom. This doesn't happen overnight. Some hurts take years to heal. Some losses leave deep marks. Healing is rarely a straight path. There may be days when old memories return. Days when forgiveness feels difficult. That's perfectly normal. Be patient with yourself. Healing isn't a race. It's a journey. Sometimes forgiveness begins with a very small step. A quiet prayer. A decision to stop replaying the same painful conversation. A willingness to wish someone well, even if you never see them again. Little by little, the heart becomes lighter. Many older adults say that one of the greatest joys of aging is discovering what truly deserves their energy. They stop arguing over small things. They stop trying to win every disagreement. They stop carrying every disappointment. Instead, they choose peace, not because life has become easier, but because they've learned that peace is far more valuable than being right. Imagine sitting on your porch as the sun slowly sets. A gentle breeze moves through the trees. Birds sing their evening songs. In that quiet moment, you realize something profound. Life is too short to spend it chained to yesterday. There is still beauty to notice. There are still people to love. There are still memories to create. There are still reasons to smile. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes the person who chooses it. It opens the door to hope. It makes room for joy. And perhaps most importantly, it allows us to spend our remaining years with a heart that is lighter, softer, and freer than before. Because in the end, the greatest gift forgiveness gives isn't to someone else. It's to ourselves. When we're younger, it's easy to believe that happiness is something we can buy. A newer car, a larger home, the latest technology, more clothes, more decorations, more things. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nice possessions. They can make life more comfortable and convenient. But many older adults eventually discover a simple truth. The excitement of buying something new usually fades. The joy of meaningful experiences often lasts a lifetime. Think back to some of your happiest memories. Perhaps it was a family vacation where nothing went exactly as planned, Yet everyone laughed about it for years afterward. Maybe it was sitting around a holiday table, sharing stories that grew funnier each time they were told. Or maybe it was something even simpler. Fishing with your father on a quiet morning. Baking cookies with your grandmother. Watching your children run through a sprinkler on a hot summer afternoon. Those moments didn't become precious because they were expensive. They became precious because they were shared. Years later, you may not remember what shoes you wore that day. You may not remember what brand of television was in your living room. But you'll remember the laughter, the conversations, the feeling of being together. That's because experiences become part of who we are. Possessions stay on a shelf. Experiences stay in our hearts. One retired couple once decided that instead of exchanging expensive anniversary gifts, they would spend the day exploring a small town they had never visited before. They wandered through quiet streets, stopped at a cozy cafe, talked for hours, and watched the sunset before driving home. Years later, when asked about their favorite anniversary, they didn't mention jewelry or fancy dinners. They smiled and remembered that simple day. It wasn't perfect. It was meaningful. As we grow older, we begin to realize that life's richest moments are often wonderfully ordinary. Watching snow fall outside your window, listening to rain while reading a favorite book, sharing a cup of coffee with an old friend, holding the hand of someone you love during an evening walk. These moments don't demand wealth. They simply ask us to be present. Another beautiful lesson is that experiences don't have an expiration date. You can revisit them again and again through your memories. A photograph may fade. A souvenir may gather dust. But the joy of a treasured memory often becomes even sweeter with time. That's why many grandparents love telling stories. They're not just sharing events, they're passing along pieces of their lives. A camping trip, a first dance, a difficult challenge they overcame, a lesson learned from their parents. These stories become gifts for the next generation. They remind children and grandchildren that a meaningful life isn't built by collecting things. It's built by collecting moments. Even today, there are still new memories waiting to be made. You don't have to travel across the world. You don't need an expensive ticket or a luxury hotel. Sometimes, the next wonderful memory is waiting just outside your front door. A walk through the neighborhood. A picnic in the park. An afternoon spent teaching a grandchild a family recipe. A phone call that lasts longer than expected. A quiet evening watching the stars. Never underestimate the value of simple experiences. They are often the moments that stay with us the longest. When people reach the later chapters of life, they rarely ask, "What did I own?" Instead, they ask, "Who did I love? Where did we laugh together? What adventures did we share? What stories will my family remember?" Those are the questions that truly matter. Because, in the end, our lives are remembered less by what filled our closets, and far more by what filled our hearts. And perhaps that's the greatest reminder of all. Life isn't measured by the number of things we collect. It's measured by the moments that take our breath away, and by the people who shared those moments with us. One of the most limiting ideas we can believe is this: I'm too old to start now. Those 7 words have quietly stopped countless dreams. They've convinced people not to learn a language, not to pick up a paintbrush, not to play the piano, not to travel, not to make new friends, not to try something they've always wondered about. But here's the wonderful truth that many older adults eventually discover. As long as you're alive, you're still capable of learning. Learning doesn't belong only to children. It belongs to anyone with curiosity. Think about how much you've already learned throughout your life. You learned to walk, to ride a bicycle, to cook, to drive, to solve problems, to comfort others, to raise a family, to recover from disappointments, to adapt when life changed unexpectedly. Every chapter of your life has taught you something valuable. Why should learning stop now? Imagine an elderly woman who receives a smartphone from her grandchildren. At first, she feels intimidated. The buttons seem confusing. The menus don't make sense. She even considers putting it back in the box. But instead, she asks her granddaughter for help. Little by little, she learns. Soon, she's sending photos, making video calls, reading books online, watching documentaries, speaking with relatives who live hundreds of miles away. What once felt impossible becomes part of everyday life. The greatest obstacle wasn't her age. It was the belief that she couldn't learn. Many people assume that growing older means becoming less capable. In reality, growing older often means becoming wiser about how to learn. Older adults bring patience, life, experience, persistence, and perspective. Those qualities can make learning deeply rewarding. Perhaps you've always wanted to learn photography, or gardening, or woodworking, or watercolor painting. Maybe you'd like to volunteer at your local library, join a book club, take a cooking class, learn to play chess, or simply read about a subject you've always found fascinating. None of these goals require perfection. They simply require the willingness to begin. Learning also keeps life interesting. It gives us something to look forward to. It reminds us that tomorrow still holds possibilities. Every new skill says, life is not over. Life is still unfolding. There is something deeply refreshing about becoming a beginner again. Beginners ask questions. They laugh at mistakes. They celebrate small victories. And they discover that progress is often more enjoyable than perfection. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every expert was once a beginner. Every accomplished artist painted an awkward first picture. Every talented musician played the wrong notes. Every confident speaker once stumbled over words. One of the greatest gifts of aging is that we no longer need to prove ourselves to anyone. We can learn simply because it brings us joy, because it keeps our minds active, because it makes life richer, because curiosity is one of the best companions we can have. And here's another beautiful thought. When older adults continue learning, they inspire younger generations. Grandchildren notice. Neighbors notice. Friends notice. They see someone who refuses to let age define what's possible. That example is more powerful than words. It quietly says, keep growing, no matter how many birthdays you've celebrated. Perhaps there's something you've been putting off for years. Writing your life story. Learning to play the harmonica. Growing vegetables. Taking photographs of birds. Joining a walking group. Calling an old friend and reconnecting. Whatever it is, remember this. The best time to start may have been years ago. The second best time is today. Because every sunrise offers a fresh opportunity to become a little wiser, a little kinder, and a little more curious than you were yesterday. After all, a life filled with learning is a life that never stops growing. And now we come to our final lesson, one that gently brings together everything we've talked about today. Many of us spend years waiting for the big moments. We think happiness will arrive when we retire, when we buy the dream house, when the children are grown, when life becomes easier, when all our problems are finally solved. But somewhere along the journey, many older people discover something surprising. Life isn't made up mostly of extraordinary moments. It's made up of ordinary days. And those ordinary days become the story of our lives. Think about a typical morning. The sunlight gently shining through the window. The familiar smell of fresh coffee or tea. The sound of birds greeting a new day. A favored chair waiting in the corner of the room. These things may seem small, so small, in fact, that we hardly notice them. Yet one day, we realize they were never just ordinary. They were the quiet blessings that surrounded us all along. Gratitude has a remarkable way of changing what we see. The world itself may not change. Our circumstances may not change overnight, but our hearts begin to notice beauty that was there all along. Instead of waking up thinking, "What do I have to do today?" we begin asking, "What can I be thankful for today?" Maybe it's your health improving, even a little. Maybe it's hearing a grandchild laugh. Maybe it's receiving a phone call from an old friend. Maybe it's watching rain fall gently outside your window. Or perhaps it's simply the gift of another sunrise. The older we become, the more we understand that every sunrise is a gift. Not everyone gets another tomorrow. That realization doesn't make life frightening. It makes life precious. Imagine an elderly couple sitting together on their front porch. They've been married for more than 50 years. The conversation isn't exciting. There are no grand adventures that afternoon. They're simply watching the clouds drift across the sky. Every so often, one of them smiles. The other smiles back. No words are needed. To someone passing by, it might look like an ordinary afternoon. To them, it's a beautiful day. Because happiness often whispers. It rarely shouts. It lives in peaceful moments rather than dramatic ones. Many older adults eventually stop chasing a perfect life. Instead, they begin appreciating a meaningful one. A meaningful life isn't free from hardship. It isn't free from disappointment. Every life includes seasons of loss, illness, unexpected change, heartbreak. Those experiences shape us. They teach compassion, patience, resilience, and they remind us never to take the good days for granted. If you're watching this today, take a moment to reflect. Think about someone who has made your life better. Think about a place that brings you peace. Think about one memory that still makes you smile. Now ask yourself, when was the last time I paused long enough to appreciate it? Gratitude isn't pretending that life is perfect. It's recognizing that even an imperfect life can still be deeply beautiful. Some people keep a small notebook beside their bed. Every evening, they write down 3 things they're thankful for. Some days, the list is simple. A warm meal, a kind conversation, a beautiful sunset. Over time, something wonderful happens. Their minds become better at noticing goodness, not because life changed, but because their attention changed. Perhaps that's one of the greatest gifts that comes with growing older. The ability to slow down, to notice, to appreciate, to enjoy, to be fully present. Life has never asked us to be extraordinary every single day. It simply invites us to find extraordinary beauty in ordinary moments. And when we learn to do that, even the simplest day becomes rich with meaning. As we come to the end of our journey together, let's remember these timeless lessons. Take care of your health while you can. Spend your time on what truly matters. Treasure the people who love you. Tell them how much they mean to you. Stop comparing your journey to anyone else's. Keep your body moving. Choose forgiveness over bitterness whenever possible. Collect memories instead of possessions. Never stop learning. And above all, never stop being grateful. Because a meaningful life isn't measured by the number of years we live. It's measured by the kindness we give, the love we share, the courage we show, the wisdom we pass on, and the gratitude we carry in our hearts. No matter your age, there is still a sunrise waiting to inspire you, still a smile waiting to be shared, still a lesson waiting to be learned, still a memory waiting to be created. Your story is not just about where you've been. It's also about the hope you choose to carry into tomorrow. So cherish today. Love generously. Laugh often. Stay curious. And never forget this simple truth. The best chapters of life are not always the first ones. Sometimes, they're the ones we're living right now. If this message encouraged your heart or reminded you of someone you love, I hope you'll carry these lessons with you and perhaps share them with someone who could use a little encouragement today. Until next time, take good care of yourself and remember, every new day is another beautiful opportunity to live with purpose, gratitude, and joy.